I'd like to welcome everyone to the Henry County Zoning Board meeting of Thursday, January 24th, 2013. And I also like to welcome all the new board members to the Zoning Board, and that's Alton Head, District 1, Ed Toney, District 2, Jim's returning. He was with us back in November, District 3, DeLander Nelson, District 5, and of course we have Jim Butcher returning from Stockbridge. And Mr. Babb from, he's the chair's appointee. Did I miss anybody? Okay, so welcome, everyone. We have a few housekeeping items we would like to bring to your attention tonight. We'd like to remind everyone that this meeting is being televised on the Henry County TV Channel 14 and will be rebroadcast each Thursday at 7:30 p.m. That hasn't changed, I don't think. Okay. A video of the meeting is also available on demand on the county website. Now would be a good time to turn off your cell phones. I would double check to make sure you did turn them off. You wouldn't want your ringtone to be on TV, giving it its little 15 minutes of fame. Or hopefully it won't be that long. If you wish to speak tonight, we'd like to have you to fill out a public hearing speaker card. Now, I just want everybody to understand we want to give everyone a chance to speak, and we're going to let folks speak, and we'll give you 10 minutes, and that's not per person. That is per favor of the case, and 10 minutes for those in opposition of the case. For example, if 10 people wish to speak, they all share the 10 minutes for the opposition or for the case. So I just want to make sure we do have a time clock that's right up here. It indicates how many minutes are left. So if you've got folks that are here that's going to speak and someone takes up the whole 10 minutes, that leaves everybody else that wanted to speak kind of out in the cold. So just want to make sure you guys realize that. And also when you're at the podium, when you're asked to come up, you're addressing the board. So if you turn around and address the audience, I'm going to assume that you're finished addressing the board, and I'm going to ask you to be seated. Okay? So I want, when you come up to the podium, to please address the board. Right now we're going to have our invocation and pledge, and I'm going to ask Mr. Risher to do that, please. Okay. Please stand.
Our Father in heaven, please give this board the wisdom and knowledge and consideration to make the best possible decisions for the citizens of Henry County. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is now called to order. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor? Motion carried. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, none opposed. All right. Yes?
On the minutes, the only members that can vote.
That's right.
Anyone else that was not on the board at that time would need to abstain from voting.
Okay, and that's right. So we're going to call that again. Do you have a motion to approve the minutes?
I have a motion to approve.
Okay,
Second, Jim.
I guess I can. Jim?
Second.
Okay. All right, any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, you have to abstain. That's okay. And none opposed. Okay. The motion carried. Okay, do we have any comments from the staff?
No, just wanted to again welcome the new board members to the Zoning Advisory Board. We certainly look forward to working with each and every one of you all, and I think you all are doing a wonderful job thus far, and just keep up the great work. And again, if you need anything from planning staff, we'll be more than happy to assist.
Okay, at this time, we're going to have the agenda items. Staff's going to call the first case.
CU 1301, Jason Salser of McDonough, Georgia, requests a conditional use for property located at 219 Harris Drive in Land Lot 249 of the 7th District. The request is for a non-commercial kennel in the RA zoning district. The property is located in District 1, and Wanda Moore is representing planning staff.
Good evening, Board, Madam Chair. The applicant is requesting a conditional use to operate a non-commercial kennel on a 1.19 plus or minus acre property located at 219 Harris Drive. The property is zoned RA, residential agricultural. The subject property consists of a single-family residence surrounded by RA zoned property and is rural in appearance. The rear yard has several large shade trees and is enclosed by 3 types of fencing. Access is controlled by a key lock gate. The first type of material fence material seen from Harris Drive is an opaque wooden fence topped with a single barbed wire running post to post. This wooden fence is posted with cautionary signs indicating the presence of dogs. The second type of fencing is a chain link, which is used for both side yard property lines. The last material is a 3-row barbed wire fence located at the rear north of the north property line. The applicant has a license with the Georgia Department of Agriculture as a breeder under the name of Massive Kennels. The applicant states that he has 4 personally owned dogs. There are 3 existing kennel areas at the residence that includes poured concrete pads and 21 well-organized and neatly maintained fence enclosures. The Georgia Department of Ag inspected the property on October the 12th, 2012, and indicated no violations. However, listed the number of breeding animals at 4 female and 2 male dogs. The maximum allowable number of pets per residence without a non-commercial kennel is 4 per ULD Appendix A Master List of Definitions. The applicant was cited by the Henry County Code Enforcement Department for an unpermitted non-commercial kennel within the RA zoning district. The case was referred to the Henry County Magistrate Court. The subsequent court order required the applicant to meet with planning and zoning staff to review the requirements for a non-commercial kennel. The applicant met with staff on August 23, 2012, as required, and was provided a conditional use application and was informed that a variance application would be required if all standards for non-commercial kennels were not met. Now, the ULDC defines a non-commercial kennel as any single-family residence in the RA zoning district where no more than 10 adult dogs and or cats are kept as pets for the non-commercial purpose of hunting, exhibition in shows, field trials, or breeding. Surplus offspring bred at such kennels to enhance or perpetuate any given breed recognized by the American Kennel Club may be sold at such kennels and shall not be considered a commercial activity. All animals kept or maintained in said kennel must be owned by the individual or family residing upon the lot upon which the kennel is located. The submitted as-built survey, and I'm going to put that up here, indicates that all of the existing kennel areas do not conform to the 50-foot setback requirement from adjacent residential properties. The area to locate kennels that provides the 50-foot setback is identified by the orange hatched area. A variance request to allow the setback requirement to be reduced runs concurrent with this application. Planning staff recommends approval of the conditional use of a non-commercial kennel with the following 6 conditions. The applicant must remove all existing dog kennels that are located within the 50-foot required setback area unless the variance request, VR 13-02, is approved by the Zoning Advisory Board. Number 2, the applicant shall provide a drainage system plan to environmental health for any impervious kennel and/or run areas. Number 3, enclosure for animals shall be all sides and top chain-linked fencing with secured gated access only. Number 4, the north property line barbed wire fence shall be replaced with either chain link or wood fence in order to completely enclose the rear yard. Number 5, the applicant must adhere to all leash laws according to Henry County Code. And number 6, notwithstanding anything contrary herein, no supplemental standards imposed herein shall be interpreted or applied in such a manner so as to require any violation of any existing building, development, stormwater, and/or other applicable codes. And as a matter of record, I do have a letter from Mr. John T. Harris of 324 Harris Drive regarding the application, and he has written that he's in opposition of the application.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Do you have any questions from the board members from the District 1 for staff?
No, I move that the staff.
Wait just a second. Right now we're just asking questions.
Okay, no,
We're just going to ask questions. You don't have any. Okay. Do you have any questions to the staff from the board?
Were there any other letters or communications in regard to opposition on this?
I personally had a few calls, 2 or 3 calls, that were inquiries as far as what the request was about. We have no other written documentation in support and/or in opposition to the request. The calls that we got were mostly to ask what was going on, and some of the comments were they did not, a couple of the comments were not necessarily opposed, but they weren't necessarily excited about it either.
Thank
to
you.
be ambiguous.
Any other questions for the staff from board members?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, Mr. Risher.
There was some question as to whether this residence was occupied by the owners of this kennel operation or not. Is it occupied? As far as you know.
The question was raised to the applicant because the tax assessor's record shows an address for the owner different than the property address, which is oftentimes typical of a rental situation. Staff did ask the applicant, and he said that was his place of residence.
Anyone else have any questions for the staff? Okay, I would like to ask the applicant to please come forward. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hello. My name is Tamika Fluke. I'm attorney for Mr. Jason Saucer.
Jason Saucer is my name.
And could you please state your address, Mr. Saucer?
219 Harris Drive, McDonough, Georgia.
And Tamika, what was your last name?
Fluker. F as in Frank, Luker.
And could you give your address, please?
Yes, it's 133 Jonesboro Street, McDonough, Georgia, 30253.
Do you have anything that you'd like to add to the staff's comments?
Yes, we just like to clarify some, just certain aspects. As far as whether or not Mr. Saucer lives at the residence, he does live at the residence. The address in DeKalb is actually his mother's address, where he has mail go sometimes, but he lives in McDonough. His license is for the address that is in question. So that is his home.
Mr. Saucer, are you is Tamika going to be speaking for you, or,
Yes.
and if we ask you a question, we were probably going to want you to answer?
Okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure. But, if not, y'all let me know who's going to be answering the questions or whatever. Anybody else, y'all have any other comments you want to add to that, to the staff's comments?
No, no.
Okay.
I'm so used to saying Your Honor, sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm not there. Okay. Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
Well, I have a question now. How many animals do you have on the property at the present time?
At the present time, there are 11. 6 of them are puppies. They're 6 months of age. One of them is 7 months. One of those 6.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for the applicant?
Do you own a rent? Do you own the home or you
I
rent
own
it?
the home.
You own it?
Yes.
Anyone else have any questions for the applicant? Okay, you may be seated.
Okay, thank you.
At this time, we're going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in favor of the case. So if you want to speak in favor of the case, you can come to the podium and speak in favor of the case. We'll allow 10 minutes for those wanting to speak in favor of the case. Okay, I don't see anyone. Okay, at this time, we're going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in opposition to the case. Please come forward and state your name and address.
My name is Susan Harris. I live at 319 Harris Drive. I'm his neighbor on the south side. I am opposed to granting him the variance. One reason is I will contend that he does not live there. The house is not occupied. It is being used as a warehouse for the dogs. If you go to his website, you will see that he is advertising a minimum of 6 stud dogs, 17 brood bitches. Currently on his website, he's got 1 litter on the ground, 4 coming soon, and it is only January. So I do not think, in my mind, that this is a hobby kennel. I think it is a commercial enterprise. Also on that website he has corporate sponsors. And if I heard correctly, and I could be wrong about this, but his dogs are not American Kennel Club registered. They are United Kennel Club registered. There are sanitation issues for the waste runoff. There are noise issues with those dogs during certain times of the day and the evening. So I would like to ask you to deny his request and ask him to return that property to residential status. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a little bit more time. Does anyone else want to speak in opposition to this case? Okay, nope. I would like to ask the applicant to please come back up. Does the board have any further questions for the applicant? Okay, you can be seated.
Okay.
We will now call the case, after she's going to call it.
CU 1301, Jason Saucer of McDonough, Georgia, requests a conditional use for property located at 219 Harris Drive in Land Lot 249 of the 7th District. The request is for a non-commercial kennel in the RA zoning district.
Now you call.
I'm make a motion that the Mr. Saucer request be denied.
Second.
Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. No discussion. All those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, so the motion was denied. I mean, the case is denied. Okay,
Madam Chair, before you move on to the next item, I do want to make sure that all of the applicants tonight that are present for items for conditional uses and variances know that any requests that are denied by the Zoning Advisory Board, you have 30 days to file an appeal to the Planning and Zoning Department. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that there is an appeal process should you elect to file an appeal. Thank you.
thank you. Now, she will call the second case.
Variance, VR 1302, Jason Saucer of McDonough, Georgia, requests a variance from supplemental standards for a non-commercial kennel for property located at 219 Harris Drive in Land Lot 249 of the 7th District. The request is to reduce setback requirements for structures in conjunction with the non-commercial kennel. The property is located in District 1, and Wanda Moore is representing planning staff.
The applicant is requesting a variance from site design standards for a non-commercial kennel to allow the minimum 50-foot setback requirement to be reduced to 10. Staff has recommended denial of the request.
Okay. Does any board members have any questions for the staff regarding this case? I need to ask the applicant to please come forward. And again, please state your name and address for the record.
Jason Saucer, 219 Harris Drive, McDonough, Georgia.
Tamika Fluker, 133 Jonesboro Street, McDonough, Georgia.
Thank you. Do you have anything that you would like to add to the staff comments regarding this variance?
No.
Mr. Saucer? Does the board have any questions for the applicant? Okay, the applicant may be seated. At this time, we're going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in favor of this case. If you want to speak in favor of this case, you may come forward. Okay, at this time, we're allowing 10 minutes for those who want to speak in opposition of this variance. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, it's Susan Harris, 319 Harris Drive, McDonough, and I'm opposed to this request for all the reasons that I stated earlier.
You have time to repeat those if you want to.
Oh, so you want me to go? Okay, I can do that.
This is a different case, so
Okay.
if you want it for a record, it's
Okay,
up to
the
you.
property, that area is residential in nature for the most part. It is rural, but it is a residential area. He has used that property as a kennel. He's advertising. I know he's saying he only has 6 or 7 dogs there, but if you look at the website, there are way more dogs than that advertised as being available for stud or as a brood bitch. There are sanitation issues there. There's no septic system to take care of waste products, urine, or the runoff when he pressure washes those kennels. I would venture to say that this is not a hobby kennel, but that it is a commercial enterprise, and I would like for you to deny his request for a variance. Yes.
Yeah, I would, in relation to this property, which house do you live in, facing the house?
I don't face it, I live beside it.
You're over to the side, you're on the Iris Lake side?
No, on the other side. Like it would be the southeast side, I think.
I'm a little confused as to where that is. Do you know where she's talking about?
It's like you got Iris Lake.
About where her property is located.
I think she lives east of it.
Okay, that's all I have.
We have to stop the clock if you ask questions.
Excuse me?
We have to stop the clock if you ask questions. That's okay. Yeah, we just want you to get it.
She's right here. Yes, this is not this.
So you're to the right of the property, is it?
Yeah, if you're facing it, yes.
Ms. Harris, did you have anything else that you would like to comment on?
No, just that I do ask that you deny the request for a variance.
Okay.
Any more questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else want to speak in opposition? Okay. I'd like to ask the applicant to please come back up to the podium. Does the board have any further questions for the applicant? I have a question. Is this the only place that you have a kennel?
No, I actually have dogs all over the country, and most of the dogs that are on my website I own, but other people all over the country own them. They're not actually at the residence.
So you own the dogs that are at the residence. Those are your personal dogs?
Yes, those are.
Okay.
But everything that she's quoting that's on my website is not at the residence.
Okay.
Which is why there is not, on the website, there is not a
Physical
address stating that these are where the dogs house here in McDonough, because they're not. The only dogs that would be housed here in McDonough are his personal dogs.
Okay. And do you have a partner in this kennel business?
Yes.
Okay. Do they live at the residence also?
No.
You're the only one at the residence?
Yes.
Okay. That is all that I have. Anyone else?
Do you have identification of the animals that you own? Do you have a way to identify all the animals that you have on the property at this time?
I do. They're all registered with the United Kennel Club. Every last one of them.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions for the applicant? You may be seated.
Thank you.
If I could get staff to please call the case.
VR 1302, Jason Saucer, McDonough, Georgia, requests a variance from supplemental standards for a non-commercial kennel for property located at 219 Harris Drive in land lot 249 of the 7th District. The request is to reduce setback requirements for structures in conjunction with the non-commercial kennel. The property is located in District 1.
Second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor, indicating by raising your hand. Okay, the motion is denied. Motion carries. The case is denied. The motion is carried. The case is denied. Okay. Call the next case, please.
VR 1303, David A. White of Stockbridge, Georgia, requests a variance from development regulations for property located at 609 Fish Pond Court in land lot 162 of the 11th District. The request is to reduce the front yard setback and stream buffer impervious surface setback. The property is located in District 5, and Jeremy Gilbert is representing planning staff.
Good evening, Chairman and board members. The request that is before you is a variance to reduce the front yard setback from 75 feet to 39.9 feet. As previously read, as far as the request for the stream buffer, that was actually handled administratively, so therefore it did not need to come before this board. The applicant is requesting to reduce that front yard setback from 75 feet to 39.9 feet for a proposed addition to the existing single-family home that is located on the property. According to the tax assessor's records, the existing structure was built in 1960. Section 11.0103, nonconforming structures of the Unified Land Development Code state that a nonconforming structure cannot be enlarged, therefore resulting in the applicant's request to reduce the front yard setback. The creation of this lot was a result of the Crown Chase subdivision developing around an existing single-family home. As you'll notice on the survey that was placed on the overhead that you can see on your screens, shows the existing house, and the hatched portion to the rear of the property is where the addition is being proposed. The house currently sits 39.9 feet from the property line. but because the property is a non-conforming property, it cannot be enlarged. The applicant is requesting that this variance be approved to allow the addition to be made. Staff does recommend approval of this request, and I will entertain any questions that the board may have.
Do I have any questions from the board members from the district for staff? Anyone else have any questions for the staff? Okay, we'll ask the applicant to please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
David White, 609 Fishpond Court, Stockbridge, Georgia.
Do you have anything you'd like to add to what staff has already given us?
I just want to add on to my home. I bought the house and the subdivision was already there, and it took too close to my area.
Okay. Do the board members have any questions for the applicant?
I have one question. You said that you bought the house and the subdivision was there, or you?
The subdivision was already there before I bought the house.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for the applicant? Okay. You may be seated.
Thanks.
At this time, we're going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in favor of this case. If you would like to speak in favor of this case, you may please come to the podium. Okay, this time we're allowing 10 minutes for those who want to speak in opposition to the case. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Gwendolyn Glass, and I live at 605 Fishpond Court. My house runs adjacent to 609 Fishpond Court. A few years ago, I guess, the owners received an easement to enter and exit through the subdivision of Crown Chase. When the driveway was cut away, it caused their property to stand out pretty much. And as he said, their property is an older property. Unlike any other property in the subdivision, the design is quite different, which causes it to stand out. And to grant the variance, making the property larger, would cause it to stand out even more. So I asked that, I'm in opposition because of how the other property impacts the homes in the subdivision. So I'm opposed to it. And I ask that it be denied.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Now, where is your property in reference to his
Facing the property, facing 609 Fishpond Court, I'm on the left side of his property.
Okay.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Okay. We'll have to ask the applicant to please come back up. Does the board have any further questions for the applicant?
I have a question. Where are you adding on to the property?
As you see on that diagram,
Yes.
on the back side.
On the back side?
Furthest away from her property.
Okay. Now, are you going up in height, or?
No,
What
same level. I am not part of the subdivision either.
Okay, I understand.
And that's why I got that long easement driveway.
Okay.
Okay, I'm adding on right here. Her property is right there.
Okay, and
Her house is about in that location.
will this change the appearance at all of your house?
Actually, it will be the same roof line, straight on out.
Okay.
It helps the, I guess, tax purposes for the appraisal for the other homes, because it raise the value of my property, which would also raise the value of their property by mine being more expensive.
Okay.
Was the home already there before the subdivision was developed?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions for the applicant?
How would you get to the property?
Actually, the way it used to be, the subdivision used to be part of this house, okay? The land that the subdivision was built on used to be part of this house here. But if you see that little line right here, that comes off of Fairview Road. But the subdivision took part of that road also, okay, when it was originally sold. And that's how you would get to the house before, was off of Fairview Road, over here, in this area. That way, I guess. But now it's not an access because the driveway's been sold to the subdivision. So when they sold the subdivision, they made access come off that cul-de-sac.
So if we denied it, you would have no way to your property, right?
If you deny it, I still have the same way to my property. I just wouldn't be able to add on, and y'all would be getting less taxes.
Anybody else have any other board members have any questions for the applicant? Okay, you may be seated.
Okay.
You could call the case, please.
David A. White of Stockbridge, Georgia, requests a variance from development regulations for property located at 609 Fish Pond Court in Land Lot 162 of the 11th District. The request is to reduce the front yard setback, and the property is located in District 5.
I make a motion to accept staff recommendation of approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Motion carried. Approved. At this time, I would like to appoint Jim Butcher as acting vice chair so that I can... No, actually it's going to be mine. It's District 4. Okay.
Okay, give me a set of brains, Jim. I like the work with the clock better. It's not as much work. If you will, please call the case.
VR 1305, First American Title Insurance of Pace, Florida, requests a variance from development regulations for property located at 176 Crumley Road in Land Lot 7 of the 7th District. The request is to reduce the minimum road frontage from 60 feet to 30 feet for a flag lot. The property is located in District 4 and will be presented by Wanda Moore.
Good evening, Board, Madam Chair. A brief history for the subject property. The property and a larger tract of land were rezoned from RA, residential agricultural, to R2, single-family residential, on April 19, 2005, with 13 conditions. The combined total acreage of 63.37 acres was platted as the subdivision presently known as East Lake Estates. The subject property that consists of 5.8 acres was not developed with lots, but was instead included as part of the open space as indicated on East Lake Estates' final plat. On May 5th of 2008, an application was filed by the property owners to rezone 5.8 acres from R2 back to RA. The rezoning application was eventually approved by the BOC on January 20th, 2009, with 7 conditions. A written deed for the property was recorded in the office of the clerk of Superior Court of Henry County prior to the adoption of the ULDC on September 15, 2009. Therefore, the subject property is a lot of record and can be developed as approved on January 20th, 2009, with 7 conditions. The lot of record, however, does not conform to current ULD standards that requires 60 feet of road frontage for flag lots, and therefore is designated as a legal non-conforming lot. The applicant has requested a variance to reduce the required 60 feet of road frontage to 30 feet, which is consistent with the approved rezoning. Planning staff recommends approval of the requested variance since a warranty deed recorded in the office of the Clerk of Superior Court of Henry County, Georgia, prior to the adoption of the ULDC September 15, 2009, was documented. All other RA zoning criteria and 7 conditions of Resolution Number 09-24 shall remain with the property.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions from the board for members of the staff? Could the applicant come forward, please? State your name and address for the record.
Tim Miller, 2062 Highway 42 North, McDonough.
All right, sir. Do you have anything you'd like to add to the staff comments that?
No, just like what they said in the work session, the 30-foot strip has always been there, and it got caught up when they changed the code. Used to, 2 or more acres, you could have a 30-foot strip for a flag lot. It's a beautiful site to build a house, and we're just requesting that they give us a variance so a 30-foot strip will be allowed.
Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
Do you plan on living on this property?
No, I represent First American Title Insurance. Now, the 7 conditions that were, when the zoning was approved in 2009, we're not asking to change any of them. First American Title is willing to meet every one of them.
Right, and the property is not in compliance with all those zoning requirements at that time? It is or it is not?
The fence has not been built, and there's a strip of the property that is supposed to be deeded over to Mr. Hood. And it shows on the current survey a 40-foot by 100-foot strip to be deeded over to Mr. Hood.
And you understand that all these conditions would have to be met in order to get a permit, to build a house there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. No, my client's fully aware of that.
And I think that you were caught on the change between regulations. I think on January 20th, the zoning allowed a 30-foot flag lot, but as of September 15th, 2009, with the adoption of the new UDC, it required 60 feet.
Yes, sir. They did away with the 30-foot. Yes, sir.
And I guess if by asking for this variance, it would be some protection for you, would it not? Because if the house was damaged or burned down, you'd be able to get a permit to rebuild it based on the existing 30-foot frontage standard.
The way it is now, they could get a permit to build, but if something happened, they would not be able to get another one.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, my client's willing to meet. There's a fence to be put up along Miss Bagwell's property and the 40-foot strip to be deeded over to Mr. Hood.
You're not planning on subdividing, or the owners?
Oh, no, sir. It can't be subdivided again. No, sir.
All right.
Any other questions for the applicant? You can be seated or step back for just shortly. At this time, we're allowing 10 minutes for those who want to speak in favor of the case. If you would like to speak in favor of the case, please come forward. Okay, thank you. At this time, we're allowing 10 minutes for those who want to spoke. I'm okay. Want to speak in opposition to the case.
Makes me feel better.
State your name, please.
I'm Betty Bagwell. I live at 182 Crumley Road, McDonough, Georgia. This strip of land I gave to the 25 acres of land back there. And it was landlocked because of the subdivision, so it's now only 5+ acres with a 30-foot strip going to it. It's never been 60 feet.
Okay?
If it was 60 feet, it would come within 14 feet of my house
Yes, ma'am.
and a 500-gallon butane tank.
That'd be kind of messy, wouldn't
It would.
it? Anything else, ma'am?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak in opposition? Applicant, can you come back forward, please? Board, have any further questions for the applicant? You got off lucky.
I got off lucky?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, I'll take that.
Have a seat, just a second. Staff, if you will, call the case.
ER 1305, First American Title Insurance of Pace, Florida, requests a variance from development regulations for property located at 176 Crumley Road in Lynn Lot 7 of the 7th District. The request is to reduce the minimum road frontage from 60 feet to 30 feet for a flag lot, and the property is located in District 4.
I would like to request approval for this variance since a warranty deed recorded in the office of the Clerk of Superior Court of Henry County, Georgia, prior to the adoption of the ULDC September 15, 2009 was documented. All other RA zoning criteria and the 7 conditions of resolution number 0924 shall remain.
All right, I have a motion. Do I hear a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising their hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4. Those opposed? 1 abstention.
Any discussion?
Is there any discussion? Motion carries. Has been approved. You got another one coming up?
Yeah.
Staff, will you call the case, please?
RC 1301, Troy and Janice Jackson of Stockbridge, Georgia, request a rezoning from RA Residential Agricultural to C3 Highway Commercial for property located at 70 Troy Jackson Road in Land Lot 99 of the 11th District. The property consists of 2.93 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a commercial development. The property is located in District 4, and Jeremy Gilbert is representing planning staff.
Good evening again, Chairman and board members. The request that is before you is a rezoning from RA to C3 for property located on Troy Jackson Road. The request is for the purpose of utilizing the property for commercial land use. The applicant at this time is seeking to allow the existing nonconforming structure that's located on the property to be used for a commercial use. According to the applicant, the property has been utilized for commercial or industrial uses in the past. According to the tax records, the existing building was built in 1980. However, according to the applicant, the building was built in 1959. A review of building permit files revealed that a demolition permit was issued in August of 2005, and a permit to repair storm damage was issued in November of 2005. According to the applicant, the property has been utilized for commercial uses since 1959. The property has received 2 continuations of a non-conforming use by the Board of Commissioners. One was on December 6th of 1988. The other on August 6th of 1996 to extend the expiration of the 6 months nonconforming status. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property for the utilization of commercial because the nonconforming status of the property has expired. Based on the ULDC, any property that is nonconforming that sits vacant for longer than 6 months must then come into conformity with today's current standards. The request is inconsistent with the future land use map, which does designate this property for rural residential land uses at up to 1 dwelling unit per acre. And changing this to commercial could change the entire area or the future developments of the area. In the current area, as you can see on the zoning map that's been illustrated to the south, there is a property that is currently zoned C3, and it is operating as a commercial kennel. There is no other commercial in the immediate area. However, there is commercial that's located to the north at the intersection of Highway 138 and Highway 155, and south of the property, there's a designated future commercial development at the corner of West Hemp-Hill and Highway 138. Staff has evaluated the request, and based on its inconsistency with the future land use map and the character of the area, staff is recommending denial of this request. Staff would also like to state that there is a associated comprehensive land use plan amendment and a variance running concurrently with this request. I'll answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, sir. You have a question for staff?
Question, yes. How many total acres is it now?
The existing site is 2.93 acres.
So if they weren't residential, we could build.
Under its current RA zoning district, they'd be allowed to have, they could subdivide the lot into 1 acre tracts to have houses. If it was more than 3 tracts, which it's not enough acres to have more than 3, it'd have to be a subdivision of 2 acres or more, but they could feasibly get a lot division of 2 and have 2 residences on the property.
Jeremy, they could have a home-based business there also.
If there was a residence on the site and someone resided there, they could have a home occupation. Currently, the only residence is on the property that is to the west. There's not an actual single-family residence on this property. So in order for a home occupation to be applied for, there would have to be a single-family residence on that property, or it could be combined with the property adjacent to it to allow for a home-based business following and meeting the requirements of our code.
So the businesses that were there previously were allowed because there was a, I'm seeing here a continuation of a non-conforming use. Is that what that was all about?
We do have record showing that there was at 2 different times in history that the continuation was done. Based on the applicant, there's been numerous businesses that have located there. This was really brought to our attention in, I believe it was November of 2011. An application came in for a business license for this location. It had sat dormant for more than 6 months. We denied that business license application for commercial use. Last year, in the latter part of 2012, the fire department did an inspection on the location and realized there was a commercial business there and had that business to cease operation, and thus why they're applying for it, for the rezoning. So there have been various businesses. During the time, the board did grant 2 continuations to allow that. Unfortunately, the Unified Land Development Code doesn't have any provisions in it to allow us to grant an extension of that 6 months nonconforming.
Do you know if that business had a license? Are you saying that it did, or
some of them did and some of them didn't? We've contacted our business license office, and they don't have records. They don't keep records that go back very far, so they don't have any record of very many businesses that were ever there. We weren't able to obtain any. The applicant has indicated the various places that they have rented to, and in one of the zoning files there is a copy of a couple of certificates for occupancy that was there, but our business license didn't have them. They were from the previous people who had provided them during those times of 1988 and 1996.
I guess I'm speaking specifically of when the fire department went out and they found there was a business there and they had to cease.
Correct. When the fire department went out, the business that was there actually has a home occupation business license for their residents where they currently live. But they had located their business. This is the same business we denied the business license for in 2011. They've just been operating out of this location with their home occupation that's for a different location on Hood Road.
Wow, okay. That sheds a little bit of light.
One other question.
Yes.
In 2005, when the permit was granted, was there a business at that point?
The building department didn't have any record of it. Their building file stated that it was a cabinet shop. The indications that we had from the 1996 and the 1988 was one that it was a electroplastering company, and the other one was that it was for an automotive repair. We don't have any zoning files that state that it was ever a cabinet shop, other than the building department's files show that it was an existing cabinet shop that they were repairing. Not sure if there was a business in it at the time, but before the certificate of occupancy was issued, the permit was issued in '05, and if I'm not mistaken, the certificate of occupancy was issued in either '07 or '08. So it took a couple of years to get the certificate of occupancy, so it sat vacant during that period of time.
Did the property sit vacant for over a 6-month period?
Yes, during the time of when the building permit was issued until a CO was issued was a couple of years where the property sat vacant. And then prior to the business that applied in 2011, we had no record of any business being in there prior to that to give us that 6 months. So it had sat vacant for more than 6 months based on the records that the county has.
Any other questions from the board for staff? Could we have the applicant come forward, please? Please state your name and address for the record.
Troy and Janice Jackson, 110 Troy Jackson Road, Stockbridge, Georgia.
Do you have anything you'd like to add to staff's comments?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Actually, Mr. Harris recommended that we apply for a C3 license, and that's the reason we did. However, we don't care about a C3 license. All we care about is being able to rent the building like we have done since 1988. We rented the building to a paint and body air tarp, and then a Ralston Contractors in '89 and '92, a Southeastern Stone Company in '94, a paint and body shop, which I don't know the name, was in '94 and '95, Micro Blend Chemicals in 1996, Lewis Cabinets rented it for a while during that year, and another paint and body shop. A Sheet Metal Done Right was in 1997, and then the All Pro Cabinet Shop was there for 5 years, from 2000 to 2005. And then the building was hit by lightning, and we had to have it. We had insurance on it, but the guy that sold us the insurance didn't turn it in, and so we didn't. He tried to make it right, and he did a lot of the reconstructing, but it took us a long time to get it reconstructed, and of course there was no way we could rent it until that was all finished. And then it takes, sometimes you can't rent something in 6 months. There's times when we have not been able to rent it in that length of time. It doesn't seem fair to lose your zoning because you couldn't rent it when it took longer than 6 months to rent. And my daddy owned that building. The reason I'm doing the talking, and I'm not talking over my husband because I usually prefer him to do it. But
oh, she says it right. I ain't gonna talk.
But the reason is because it was my daddy's business. He built that business in 1959, and he operated it for 20-plus years. And then after we began renting the building, after we acquired it, we began renting it ourselves. And the report said the taxes had only been paid since 1980, but I can assure you that my daddy paid the taxes from 1959 until we had the building. And we paid commercial taxes. We don't really care about the C3. We just want to be able to rent this building just like we have. Our house is right next to it. We would never let anybody rent that building if it would hurt any house, any home, because our house is there. So we have to be very careful who we rent it to, and that's the reason sometimes it might take us longer than 6 months, because we can't rent it to just anybody. We have to be sure that nobody's going to make the outside of it not decent for people, the visitors that might come to my house. The only people on that road are Troy and I, and my daughter and son-in-law have their house right past ours. And the reason it's not paved is because they made that road a dead end. We came here once before. They made that road a dead end, and when they built that subdivision, and they paved the road on the other side, which was Hood Road. We were Hood Road too, but they didn't pave ours. And we asked that ours, that we keep the road name as Hood Road, because we had it so long, but they didn't do that at that time either. And I put a letter in there that explains most of that. But my husband and I actually will accept any zoning that would, as long as we can rent the building to the similar companies that we've rented it to in the past. That's all we care about. We don't care about a C3. But we've had so much trouble with this when he wouldn't give the man that's renting it now, he cleans exhaust fans for restaurants in the Atlanta area. And their work is all done at the restaurants. They store their equipment inside the shop and sometimes park a car there to go to in a truck to go to where they do the cleaning at. And we had made it all right for him to have that. You tell him about that, honey, because I don't.
Well, he went to get a license and to move it from his home-based business to that shop, and they blessed that. Well, the fire marshal comes in, and he says that's not good enough, so you can't stay in the building. So we don't know which way to go here.
And we were trying to do something that we wouldn't have to go through this again, because this has really been hard on us to go through what we've gone through. And if we can't rent the building, we really can't even keep the lights and the water and the taxes. And we pay a good bit of taxes out. What I tax?
$2,000
$2,000
a year.
this last tax year.
Y'all making more money than I am. So think about it.
We're just at the mercy of the Board of Commissioners, and if we can't rent the building, I don't know what we'll do. And we would just appreciate, I don't know if there's anything else I need to say, anything y'all can do for us just to make it okay for this man to stay in that building and for us to be able to rent it. Does
the board have any other questions for the applicant?
I do. Hopefully I can. We're going to try our best to help you stay within what the law requires for zoning, and sometimes we are restricted on what we can do, and we have to come back maybe a couple of times till we get it right. So we want to do that. So I hear you say that, because you don't want a C3 necessarily, but you just want whatever there is, and I don't think we discussed any other options, for them or what they could do. But I guess you realize if it's a zone for C3, what could go in there even after, if something.
Well, it would never
later.
go as long as we were there,
Right.
but I can understand where you're coming from.
Right, and
it's just like I say, as long as we could just keep doing what we've been doing, is what we're concerned about.
But what's before us right now is a C3, so that's what we have to address. So I just want to make sure that you understood that.
Yes.
So it wouldn't be that we wouldn't trying to help you. It's just that's what's before us, and that's kind of what we have to look at. It's a C3. And then I think you realize that if it is, we approve a C3, not only what can go there, but some of the other stipulations that would have to happen, and I guess staff would I can get staff to say that, but as far as paving the road and things like that, there's some conditions that would have to be met for that. So it's just a lot, I think, that you were saying that you didn't necessarily want a C3. So we've got to figure out for you.
Well, I
going
just
forward
I
what
just
to do.
felt. Excuse me.
No, that's okay. We just need to figure out.
I just felt like the building has been, was used as a business since 1959, and of course at that time there was no there were hardly any houses, around. And the building was there before any of the houses in the subdivision, any of the houses were ever built. And I just seemed like to me it should have been grandfathered in and not have to go through the stipulations of the new places.
Yes, Jim. Go ahead.
If you say that this building was built, I think in 1959, and actually, Henry County did not adopt its first zoning ordinance until 1963. So you have some pre-existing situations with this building, and which kind of makes it very tough on you.
Very tough.
So are you paying commercial taxes? Did I hear you say
Yes,
that?
we've been paying commercial
Always
taxes. I have the tax receipts. I have my tax records.
Let me say this, can I say something?
Yes, sir, you're there for that.
Okay.
Commercial taxes.
No.
All right.
Which I think that's tax assessor's office had something to do with that.
He's been paying commercial, even though he doesn't have commercial zoning. Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Okay, 1988, we did the same thing as we do it now. Okay. I do this and keep my composure.
I do better than he does.
This is to confirm the decision by the Board of Commissioners on December 6, 1988, to allow the reestablishment of a non-conforming use for the building. This was in 88, and they blessed it, think.
The only stipulation I think was in there was about the 6 months. But that's just what I'm saying. I don't know how we could have got around that when we had that fire. There was no way we could have. And I don't know how we could even get around it if something happened right now and we had to rent it. Because it's just like I say, we're particular about who rents it because of anybody, because of us. And we wouldn't have anything in there. We've never had a complaint as long, since 1959, there has never been a complaint. Now, my nephew is down here now because I think he thinks he's doesn't want it to be C3. He doesn't want it to be zoned for C3. And just like I said, that's not what I care about. I just care about being able to rent it just like we have. The building doesn't hurt anybody, and it's just in a place where it's out of the way. And you do have a picture of the building.
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Can you imagine having a building like that and not being able to rent it?
Be difficult, I guess. If you will, please. Do you have any other questions for the applicant first? No. You'll have a seat, please.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be right back with you. At this time, we're allowing 10 minutes for those who want to speak in favor of this case.
My name is Roger Medberry. I live at 551 Hood Road in Stockbridge.
Yes, sir.
I'm the current business owner that rents this place right now. It just seems kind of strange to me that for the last 50-some-odd years, there's almost been a continuous operation of a business in this location. And since they've owned the property in the early 80s, they've been being charged commercial taxes for the property, and now a business is not able to be there. There was some confusion on when I first went to, when the fire marshal in late 2011 came out to inspect the place. He said I need to get a certificate of occupancy as a business, and I went to the business license office, did that. They approved it. They sent it to planning and zoning. They disapproved it. So I got back with the business license department, and after a bunch of talking, they finally said just continue as a home-based business, but only use that location, which I pretty much do, to store my stuff in. My 2 vans, the cleaning supplies and stuff like that. The fire marshal comes again this year, or 2012, does the same thing. You got to get the same thing. And I had a very long discussion with him. He's been inspecting this place every year that there's been a business in there for many years, many years. He told me he was with the fire department for 20-some-odd years, so he doesn't understand it either. So there's three different departments: the fire marshal, the tax assessors. Both say it's commercial. There's been commercial businesses there. I realize there's that 6-month thing, but the place burnt down. It takes longer than that to rebuild the place, let alone rebuild it and get another business in there. But I recommend that we approve it. Oh, I'm sorry. You guys approve it. I guess I can't approve it.
You're already approving it. Thank you. Appreciate
Sure.
it. Anyone else want to speak in favor? Anyone else want to speak in favor? Anyone want to speak in opposition to this case? Yes, sir.
My name is Drifton Travis Powell. I reside at 1875 Highway 138 East. I'm the nephew Ms. Jackson spoke about. I'm the son of the owner of the adjacent property, Laureen C. Powell, and I'm representing her as well as myself and my sister as beneficiaries of the properties adjacent to her. This 2.93 acres being considered for rezoning extends 660 feet along my mother's property. We recently discovered that the subdivision lot across Troy Jackson Road from the property had been purchased in 2011. I think she was mentioning something about they had applied for a license at that time. And based on the notification by the Planning and Zoning Department, we found that there was also a request for rezoning 70 Troy Jackson Road to C3. I called Jeremy and discussed what C3 would represent, what could be brought in there as C3. And that's one of the main reasons I'm against this, opposing this. We really prefer the property to be rezoned or left zoned for what it was, basically because it's still part of an original farm that was acquired by my father. Can I use this? Mm-hmm. Which way is it up? Okay. Nope, that's it backwards. This is a property as it was acquired in September of 1959. There's been mention of his business being there since 59. It was actually not there. He moved down in 61 from Atlanta when the city of Atlanta took his property on Ellis Street. When the Atlanta took his property, we sold him the homestead, which is located here. And here's where my father's house is, and this is the rest of the property. And my grandfather split up the border of property that goes along that side of the original property. He split that up and gave certain acreage to both of his other two daughters. Well, let me just go ahead. We feel that the entire property, not just the block buildings, would be used for commercial purposes if it was found to be profitable to use those or that area, entire area. And again, it is a 2.93 acre section, slot. I don't know if this is visible. Okay. There's a black line. I have it drawn, but you can't see it. This is the property in question. The property line goes here, takes in almost all of this barn, and then goes right beside the Jackson's driveway. And she's right, she would never want to have a commercial property 10 feet from her driveway. But if it's zoned for C3, it's my understanding that the whole property is zoned for C3. If that's true, then potentially all of that area could be utilized for a commercial reason. Again, like she said, she doesn't want that there. But I don't know when, something may happen in the future. She may not have that land. Something may happen to it. It may turn over. But at some point, if my mother dies or goes into a nursing home, we may want to get rid of that property, assuming anybody would buy it, the remainder of our property. We have about 78 acres on our park. It starts basically the corner of Troy Jackson Road along 138 and then goes back all the way to McKenzie Station subdivision back here on the back. So all of this area in white here is part of my mother's property, and the portion colored with or outlined in dark is the property we're discussing. Again, we don't know if it would negatively impact our ability to sell at least that portion that borders the commercial property. In other words, if we sold this to a developer, would he be able to build lots along that commercial property line? And also, when I talked to Jeremy about this, and I asked him, would it be easier for landowners in the vicinity to get commercial property on their property? If they had commercial property there, would it be easier for other landowners to get commercial property? There is a big area right across the street from our property, basically diagonal from my side, owned originally by T.K. White. There's a large tower out there, but the rest of the property has been just woods, although recently they've taken all the trees down a couple of years ago, and it's just scrappy looking with all the tree, stumps. And I was always told that they couldn't build any houses on it. So I'm wondering if there's something that could be put on there commercially. In other words, if he could get it zoned for C3 easier, then it may be easier to get a large commercial property put there. That property happens to be, by the way, where they built the 3 schools right out in front of our property. There's a road called Mosley Drive. It used to be a dirt road until they built those 3 schools. They kind of messed up our frontage all the way along 138 because they redid the road. Anyway, we're just concerned if that might happen. Again, if it was zoned as C3. Now, like she says, if it wasn't C3, if it was something that allowed her just to rent out the building, then we wouldn't have a problem. We haven't had a problem with it at all up to now. In fact, I used to be Stockbridge Fire Marshal, and I never said anything about it. But anyway, that's the reason we oppose it, is because if it were zoned as C3, we would be concerned about what could potentially happen there.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak in opposition to this case? Got to get away from that mic. Mr. Jackson, could you come back up, please? Mr. and Mrs., I'm sorry. Does the board have any further questions for Mr. and Ms. Jackson?
I do.
Go ahead.
I just want to, I heard what you said about the C3, so hopefully maybe later you can try to figure out what it is that you want to do to continue what you're doing. But I just want to make sure, someone said that the building burned down and it couldn't be rebuilt. See, and I think the non-conforming, I think that's what kind of, it was non-conforming, so there's restrictions on what you can do when it's non-conforming. And so I think that's what happened maybe, and it took so long, but that's what happened. And you're saying it did get built back, or it
didn't burn all the way down. It just had to be
on one end of it.
Just one end of it. It had to be, rebuilt.
Was it damaged by more than 50% of the building?
No.
I don't know.
30%.
I have a question for Jeremy. What is the right of way on this particular road right here?
I can defer that to David Simmons with DOT. I asked him to do some research on that after a previous conversation we had, and he should be able to shed a little light on what the actual right-of-way is.
I have a deed that shows 14 feet on one end of the building.
The deeds that I saw on the adjoining properties, a lot of them showed an apparent 30-foot right-of-way. I think in the early 90s when the county was looking to pave Hood Road, which is Troy Jackson Road, used to be Hood Road when it cut all the way through before McKenzie Station was there. The county got a right-of-way deed from the Jacksons for a 60-foot right-of-way, and but I don't believe they got one from D.C. Powell. And when McKenzie Station come in the next year, in 93, the road between, basically cutting the middle out of Hood, got abandoned. So the other end, south of McKenzie Station to West Hemphill, was built with a 6-foot right-of-way, probably from right-of-way we got from the early 90s and whatever else we got, say in 97 or 8 when it was paved. So all I've seen on that particular end is a 60-foot right-of-way deed from the Jacksons themselves. And other than that, I've just seen apparent 30-foot right-of-way references in some deeds.
Setbacks will be from the right-of-way point from...
That is correct. The setbacks would be pulled from the property line or the edge of the right-of-way.
Which put it pretty close to the front of the building.
Yeah, based on the survey that we have, it shows it at 14 feet.
Madam Chair, if I could just add one point. I know there's been a lot of talk about the C3, and just a brief amount of history. Previously, as a gentleman that runs the business, he was allowed to utilize it as a home occupation business, using his home address as a location of the business, and using the subject property as a storage area. So that was allowable from a home-based business standpoint. I think the concern and the reason why the push for the C3 was any kind of future use, if this tenant were to leave, the prospect for other opportunity to be able to use it in another way, they wanted to have another, potentially what would they need to zone it to for any other options, and that's how the C3 came about. So I want to kind of clarify that issue for the board. But certainly the utilizing the property as if he were to go back to a home-based business with his business location at his home and utilize the structure in question as a accessory just for storage. Again, that'd be an issue between the business owner and the Jacksons. That would be allowable in this case, as it was previously. Again, just wanted to clarify that point.
He could do that and not have to have zoning on the building? What sort of zoning would he have to have on the building in order to utilize that?
The zoning could remain as RA as it is right now.
That was going to be my question.
It could be the current zoning that it's lapsed to.
Right. Sure,
Is that correct?
That's correct.
But then we'll have the same problem.
You'll have the same problem if you have another tenant.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. And that's why we were looking at it. When we discussed this, the option of C3 came up to afford them other opportunities should they want to get other tenants. And their question to myself and staff was, what would we need to do to ensure that we could utilize other tenants? And we said, depending on what the nature of the business, obviously C3 would give you the most options, and it'd be scaled down C2, C1. So that's how the C3 came about, just as an option to give them other options for other potential businesses.
Well, it seems like that the business use for the for the building right now is a very low intense type of thing, just basically storage for the home occupation business. But I think one of the problems with the C3 is, of course, this is called Highway Commercial District, which really I think means that you have to have frontage on a major state highway or county road like Highway 138.
Yeah, I mean, the ordinance doesn't have a requirement that it's required to be along a certain type of road frontage, but based on just the identification of what it is, I mean, it states that it should be in your high-populated, high-traffic areas for that
Yeah, that seems to be what the intent is.
Correct.
It doesn't fit within the land use in the area right there, right now.
Correct. And just to kind of expound on what Mr. Harris was saying, the building could be utilized for storage and storage only. The gentleman could not operate his office out of that location or anything like that. It'd just be used as a storage building, as any storage building on any other residential property could be used. So in the future, they chose to rent the building. They would have to only be able to rent it to somebody who wanted to use it as a storage building.
But the owners could the owners use it as a business, or?
If the property was combined
With a
you could
They
do
would
it as
have to
a,
live there.
correct.
Well, it would have to be combined with their house that adjoins this property.
Correct, to do it as a
And it could
home.
be an accessory structure.
And then we're still going to get into what we're going to talk about in a little while is with the variance. Right now, the building's non-conforming with the vicinity that it sits to the property line. And for an accessory structures in the RA zoning district over a certain acre can be in the front yard, so we could get around that, but it would have to meet the front yard setback, which in RA would be 75 feet, to where now it's currently at 14 feet. So we'd still have that
It might
issue.
be 75 feet from their front yard.
It is.
It's probably 400 feet.
We can't pick the building up and sit it back. That's the only.
So what happened was there was a space of time for this non-conforming business that it was sat empty, and it was more than 6 months. And what was the time that it sat empty that the county did not that you thought there was no business there?
Well, based on the records that when we do a business license that come in order for us to determine how long a business had been there previous to determine the non-conforming status is to pull business licenses for that location. And our business license office did not have any on record for the last couple of years. So it had sat vacant for a period of years is where it lost its 6-month status when the application came in late 2011.
So the applicants, you're saying that there was a business there, so did the business not have a business license?
We have 2 copies of 2 business licenses. The building, the person that had it for 5 years, the Pro Cabinet Shop, they were there for 5 years. I know they had license, but we didn't have copies of them. We do have copies of 2. But just to tell you, as far as the records go, we went to get a sewer, what was it, a permit for the sewer?
From the health department.
From the health department, and they gave us the sewer, the septic tank, on my son-in-law's property. And we had to go back, and they had no record. So we had to take the deed and show them where the septic tank was, and we did have somebody come out and dig it up to verify that. So we put a lot of money in trying to get the building just where we can, just like I say, just where we can rent it again.
I have one more question for Jeremy.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around the commercial taxes. If you had no record of a business being there, and I know that's probably a different department,
Well,
but why is there commercial taxes being paid?
This is how the tax assessor's office has explained it to us, and by no means do I know a lot about it, but I know probably enough to be dangerous. But what they've explained to us is that they look at what building is on the property. And according to their records, in 1980, the building that was built, and that's the only record they have, is 1980. It was built as an auto garage. So the building was a commercial building. The tax assessor doesn't look at the zoning. They only look at the use of the property. So zoning there's numerous properties that are zoned commercial that have a single-family residence on it that are still occupied by residents that only pay residential taxes. But because the building that they show on record was a commercial building at the time, that's why the commercial taxes are assessed.
Okay. That just kind of helped me understand what was going on. Okay.
All right. We'll beat it about best I think we can. If you'll have a seat again, Mr. and Ms. Jackson, we'll call this case and see what we can do with it. Please call the case.
RZ 1301, Troy and Janice Jackson of Stockbridge, Georgia, request a rezoning from RA Residential Agricultural to C3 Highway Commercial for property located at 70 Troy Jackson Road in land lot 99 of the 11th District. The property consists of 2.93 plus or minus acres, and the request is for a commercial development. The property is located in District 4.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to deny the rezoning request from RA to C3.
I have a motion to deny. Do we have a second? I second. Have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any further discussion? Motion carried. I would like to relinquish the chair to Ms. McCrum.
I got two more.
You got another one?
And excuse me, just for record keeping, I'll need to know by show of hands what the vote was. So if you could just recall it, Mr. Vice Chair, please.
Do you mean make the
Okay.
motion again, or just for him?
Can we have that vote
Just
again,
to show it.
please?
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Thank you. Comprehensive Plan Amendment, COMP, AM 1301. Troy and Janice Jackson of Stockbridge, Georgia, request an amendment to the comprehensive plan for property located at 70 Troy Jackson Road in land lot 99 of the 11th District. The request is to change the future land use map designation from rural residential to commercial. The property is located in District 4 and is being presented by Jeremy Gilbert.
Good evening again, board members. The applicant is requesting to amend the future land use map designation for 70 Troy Jackson Road from rural residential to commercial to allow the property to be utilized for commercial. Currently, the closest proximity of existing commercial is a little less than a half a mile south of the subject property and operates as a commercial dog kennel. According to the future land use map, the nearest future commercial land use designations are located south at West Hemphill and Highway 138, which is approximately 0.86 miles away, and then at 1.67 miles to the north at Highway 138 and Highway 155, both of which are cores of crossroad activity centers. As you can see on the overhead, the future land use map currently depicts the area as a rural residential area. The property that is to the east, that is blue, is the school property that was previously discussed, and the green is parks or conservation areas. So there's, as you can see, there's no commercial designated in this vicinity on the future land use map. In reviewing this request for changing the future land use map, evaluating the policies of the comp plan, staff did recommend denial of this comprehensive plan amendment. And I'll answer any questions you have.
Being a text amendment, we do not address an applicant here.
Yes, sir. You would still need to call the applicant.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Come on up, Mr. and Ms. Jackson. Would you like to add any comments to this amendment at this time?
Well, I don't know if this relates to that. The only thing I haven't said, I guess, is that my husband and I have been residents of Henry County for 42 years. When we raised all of our 5 children, which are all here tonight, and I drug them out here and made them come. They're sitting back there very patiently, but I do appreciate it. The road, I don't know what else I want to say. I just want to say that I hope something can be worked out. So maybe even C1 or something that we could work out, that could be worked out. It's where we could continue to rent the building. That's what we ask, and just will appreciate any consideration that y'all can give us.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
all this, nothing's changed in this area since 1988. So if we could just go back to what the commission decided back then, it'll be fine with us.
My husband doesn't have but one vocal cord. That's the reason I did the talking, and he loses his voice when he gets nervous.
Well, he's doing pretty good with that one.
He got shot when he was 16 years old.
He
I don't want to hear that.
He may not be leading the choir, but we heard him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell them not to leave yet, if they have questions.
No, that's all right. Does the board have any other questions for the Jackson? I think it's pretty well exhausted the questions. Do you have any comments or questions for the staff? Okay.
I have one question. Jeremy, can they come back at another time and request a zoning to change the property to?
Once this hearing is over, it will be scheduled for the Board of Commissioners, for the Board of Commissioners to make the final determination on the property. And at that time, if the board chooses to give them something other than C3, they could. If it's denied by the board, the ordinance does require a 1-year waiting period before you apply for a supplement rezoning.
Also, when this goes to the Board of Commissioners, it may possibly be turned around by the Board of Commissioners, or the Board of Commissioners may send it back to us. Okay? So it's not completely done yet. Are there any comments from the public in favor of this text amendment? Are there any comments from the public in opposition of the text?
Mr. Vice Chair, could we have the gentleman in the audience come up because they're recording and they
Please
can't
come
hear
up,
from
Mr.
the.
Powell.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what you're talking about on the second issue. Can you describe the difference between the first issue and this issue? Is this a zoning issue or is this
This request that is before you is actually a separate component from the rezoning aspect of it. The county has a future land use map, which is a component of our comprehensive land use plan. And in order for a property to be rezoned, it needs to be consistent with that map. In doing the rezoning, because the property is designated for residential, it's being requested to change it to commercial to support a commercial rezoning. In this case, with the property being residential, it's not supported by leading the applicant to request it. So it's not changing the zoning. Even if the board were to approve this, it still wouldn't change the zoning on the property, just the future ability to have commercial on the property.
Well, then all I would say is I'm opposed to the C3 zoning and changing the future use land map.
Okay.
I don't know that I have a copy of that. I have a copy of just about anything else. But.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak in opposition to this? Okay, being none. Does the board have a motion? Oh, you got to call the case, don't you? Okay.
Comprehensive Plan Amendment 1301. Troy and Janice Jackson of Stockbridge, Georgia, request an amendment to the comprehensive plan for property located at 70 Troy Jackson Road in land lot 99 of the 11th District. The request is to change the future land use map designation from rural residential to commercial. The property is located in District 4.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to deny the comprehensive plan future land use map amendment to change the designation from the rural residential to commercial for subject property.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I hear a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor for denial, please signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. We got 1 minute. We got to call them. We got one more. Okay. Ms. Sherry, let's call them over.
VR 1301, Troy and Janice Jackson of Stockbridge, Georgia, request a variance from development regulations for property located at 70 Troy Jackson Road, land lot 99 of the 11th District. The request is to reduce the front yard setback in the C3 zoning district. The property is located in District 4, and Jeremy Gilbert is representing planning staff.
Good evening again, board members. The request, as Sherry stated, was for a variance to reduce the front yard setback for the primary structure in the C3 zoning district. The request is reduce the requirement from 50 feet to 14 feet. Should the property not be zoned to C3, the existing building would still be non-conforming as it does not meet the setback requirement for the RA zoning district. The applicant is proposing to utilize the existing building for commercial purposes. Again, this is just the associated case to the previous two cases we heard, and staff did recommend denial of the variance request. I'll answer any questions the board has.
Board, do you have any questions for Jeremy in regard to this item? Thank you, Jeremy. Mr. and Ms. Jackson, would you like to come back up again? See what you can add to this? Do you have anything that you could add to Jeremy's comments in regard to this?
No, all these things are kind of confusing to me.
I'd like to comment that there's zero traffic on Troy Jackson Road. Zero.
No,
2 cars
nothing.
a day.
There was he talked about the continuation replacement of a non-conforming use for the industrial use established on December the 6th, 1988. It went before the board, and the signs were put up. That's what I was going to say at the meeting. The signs were put up at that time. I know at that time we paid $300 to get that done, and they put the signs up then. And I don't think I mentioned that before. It was then known as 110 Hood Road, and they didn't change that road until after they built that subdivision. And they left our road Hood Road and left the other road Hood Road, and people came to our house looking for houses on the other side. That's the reason they changed the name of the road. But
And the signs, the question somebody asked in the meeting, the signs were put on 138.
they were put on 138 because I remember that.
In 1988.
Just wanted to add that.
Do you have any questions for the applicant? Hearing none. Please have a seat again. Thank you.
Thank you.
At least you're getting your exercise tonight.
Yeah, late at night. We're allowing 10 minutes for those who won't speak in favor of this text amendment. Variance. This time we're allowing 10 minutes for those who want to speak in opposition to it. So noted, Mr. Powell. Mr. and Ms. Jackson? Do you have anything you'd like to add to all these comments? You don't need to come up.
All I want to say is that I appreciate anything y'all can do, that we will accept any zoning that you suggest, as long as we can rent the building.
To pay y'all.
To pay our taxes.
All right.
And
Well, hopefully somebody will figure that out for you.
We'll do that. If you will, please, have a seat again. We'll see what we can do with this. Waiting for Sherry.
VR 1301, Troy and Janice Jackson of Stockbridge, Georgia, request a variance from development regulations for property located at 70 Troy Jackson Road in Lynn Lot 99 of the 11th District. The request is to reduce the front yard setback in the C3 zoning district. The property is located in District 4.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we deny the requested variances for VR-13-01.
I have a motion on the floor for denial. Do I have a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. At this time, I would like to relinquish the chair to Ms. McReynolds. Forgot her name there for a minute.
Thank you. Jim Butcher.
Thank you.
Okay, staff, we'll call the next case, please.
Code Text Amendment, ULDC AM 1301. Jennifer Hill of Stockbridge, Georgia, requests an amendment to the Unified Land Development Code, Chapter 7, Standards for Accessory and Temporary Uses, Section 7.01.00, Home Occupations, in accordance with Sections 12.0211 and 12.0300 of the Henry County Unified Land Development Code. This amendment is a countywide amendment and will be presented by Wanda Moore.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Y'all awake? I am. Planning staff was asked by the applicant to review the current ULDC standards that regulate the allowable number of students and employees for home occupations. The applicant instructs swim lessons from her home, which is located on 19 acres. Currently, the ULDC Development Code regulates the number of students and employees for home occupations as follows. Chapter 7, Section 7, .01.01e reads as follows. Home occupations may employ up to 2 persons who work on the premises but who do not reside in the dwelling located on the premises, satisfying the following criteria. They must be located within the RA, Residential Agricultural Zoning District, outside of a subdivision. They must adhere to all other applicable standards for home occupations. And also in Chapter 7, Section 7.01.03, standards for specific home occupations of the ULDC reads as follows. Instruction shall be limited to 2 students at any one given time. Beauty shops, barbershops, manicurists, pet grooming, and similar services shall be limited to 2 chairs or stations and 1 shampoo chair or station. There shall be no more than 2 clients on the property at any one given time. Staff reviewed our standards of the ULDC as well as comparable jurisdictions that include Douglas County, Coweta County, and Clayton County, which actually neighbors Ms. Hill's property. The research revealed that the number of home occupation employees provided by our ULDC is actually greater than these jurisdictions. However, the number of students is less than what's provided in some of the jurisdictions. Staff believes that a sector of the public may be served more completely by an amendment specific to the number of students allowed for home occupations. Staff believes the possible increase in the number of students could be comparable with provisions afforded larger tracts of land by the ULDC in Chapter 7, specific to the agricultural activities associated with raising crops and farm animals on properties over 3 acres in size. The home occupations that are located on larger tracts of land that could benefit by an increase in number of students allowed are possibly horseback riding instruction, athletic sport instruction, archery, music, etc. Therefore, staff's recommendation is to deny the request to amend Chapter 7, Section 7.01.01e of the ULDC regarding the number of allowable employees, and approve the request to Chapter 7, Section 7.01.03 standards for specific home occupations of the ULDC to read as follows. Item D, tutoring, including all indoor and outdoor instructional services, shall be limited to 2 students at any one given time for all residential zoning districts less than 3 acres in size. Properties 3 acres or larger shall be limited to 5 students at any one given time. I also have copies of emails of support for the swim center and their request of the amendment to the text of the ULDC home occupation. That is, will be submitted as matter of record.
Okay, are there any questions from board members, since this is a county-wide text amendment for the staff? Okay, I would like to call the applicant up, please. State your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Hill, and I reside at 177 Stokes Drive, Stockbridge, Georgia, 30281. Is it okay for me to go ahead and begin as she's handing those out?
We just need for you to add anything, adding to staff comments regarding this text amendment.
All right.
The text amendment is what we're wanting you to address.
On. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, in part of the text amendment, I think it's important to point out how a swim business is different than many other home occupations that would not have clients coming to the home as much. So if it's all right with the board, I would like to begin by just having the supporters that are here to just simply raise their hand in acknowledgement that they are here in support of the text amendment that I'm proposing.
We'll have a chance for those speaking in favor of, we'll have a chance for that.
Okay.
I just need for you to address the board right now, if you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I propose the text amendment for Chapter 7, Section 7.01.0EE to read as follows. Number 3, home occupations with 15 acres or more may employ up to 10 persons. I also propose the text amendment for Chapter 7, Section 7.01.03 read as follows. Tutoring, including all indoor and outdoor instructional services, shall be limited to 2 students at any one given time for all residential zoning districts less than 15 acres in size. Properties 15 acres or larger shall not have limited students so long as there is adequate parking and the home occupation activities are not visible from the road. As a business owner with a business license and proper certifications and an authorized provider for the American Red Cross, I've ran a very successful business for the last 17 years, the last 6 of that being at my home location in Henry County. There has never been an accident on my property with regard to our pool, nor with regard to the traffic. We have taught countless numbers of both children and adults to swim and the importance of water safety. We have also hosted groups from places like a friend's house, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, various summer camps, and church groups have come to swim. Did you know that nearly 4,000 Americans drown every year, and drowning is the second leading causing of unintentional death in children ages 1 to 19, killing almost 3 kids a day in the U.S.? About half of the victims are older than 4, and in addition, according to the 2010 USA Swimming Survey of more than 2,000 children across the county, nearly 70% of African Americans between the ages of 6 and 16 have low or no swimming skills, almost twice the figure for whites. The non-swimming rate for Hispanic children is also alarming at 58%. As a result, African American children age range 5 to 14 are almost 3 times as likely to die from drowning as white children. African American boys who drown at twice the rate of African American girls are the most at risk. I bring up this point out to you only to point out to you that the majority of our customer base is made up of minorities. I understand that my home occupation is a little unorthodox and quite unique. Great care was taken in the choosing of the location of our property in Henry County by my husband and I that could serve both as our home as well as our home business. My husband and I laid out the property, the parking lot, the pool, and other structures so that they would not be an eyesore to the community nor a hindrance to the neighbors. I didn't know you guys had this fancy thing up here, so I'll try to see if I can lay this out. Okay. In fact, the addition of our home has raised the value of other homes in our neighborhood. It is not some type of butler building with an industrial type look to it. The business only runs 2.5 months out of the year at this location, and it still maintains a very residential look and feel. In the folders that I gave you the street view from Stokes Crossing, from Stokes Drive, of what our home looks like from the street, as well as a picture of just the pool area itself and I believe that planning staff provided you with an aerial photograph much similar to the one that I have on display here. The water safety business is unique because instruction is best received when students are in groups. While the American Red Cross has no limit on an instructor-student ratio, I have worked in places where the ratio was as high as 1 to 19. This is why I have limited our class sizes to be a 1 to 8 ratio at the highest, with 2 classes occurring simultaneously. I know 18 kids in a pool sounds like a lot, but this pool is rated to hold up to 90 people. A class size as small as 2 or 5 would hinder us from being able to serve the needs of the county. With no other county-provided facility, parents would certainly face taking their dollars and spending them in surrounding counties that do have aquatic centers. Until Henry County is able to build an aquatic center, we are doing our best to try to make a dent and provide water safety and enhance our community. By providing lessons here, we can keep their dollars right here in Henry County. You will find in your packets a listing of our home-based customers. They are sorted by city. Here I would like to point out how we are also helping bring money from other counties into Henry County. While parents are here who travel from Douglasville, Conyers, Atlanta, and even Tucker, they are eating at our restaurants, shopping in our stores, and filling up at our gas stations. Many of those parents live in counties that do in fact have aquatic centers. But as one parent put it, and I quote, "The lessons offered at the Steve Lundquist Aquatic Center for Clayton County residents is slightly cheaper than those offered at the swim center. So why do a large number of out-of-county residents decide to go with Jennifer instead? The reason is simple. She provides superior facilities and services. Her classes are smaller and highly structured and adequately staffed. Her pool is large enough to accommodate 2 classes at 8 to 10 customers each. And it is designed in a way that the younger children's classes is separated from the more advanced swimmers." She went on to state that how when she comes to swimming lessons, she drops through Stockbridge to do all of her shopping instead of waiting until she gets back up to the Mount Zion area. The swim center is an economic benefit to the county in many ways. Also, many local youth groups will take swimming field trips to High Falls, once again taking dollars out of our county and spending them in other counties. The youth groups I mentioned earlier are able to save money by swimming locally while still keeping the money they do spend inside of our county. With regard specifically to the text amendment, I am very much an advocate for small business. While my home occupation is quite unique, it is difficult to find other small business opportunities like this. I have found that once you start asking various home-based businesses about their business license or their zoning, they tend to get pretty tight-lipped and don't want to speak to you anymore. Even home businesses like Christmas Tree Farms, or where one owner told me that they thought that they were in violation too based on this amendment. And after I did some research for them, I was able to explain how they are different because they are a farm. However, in preparing for this meeting, it has dawned on me that many business owners in the area may think they are in the right when they are in fact in the wrong, and others may fear that they are wrong but just choose to fly under the radar instead, or they may just be unaware of this ordinance, as I was. I am not here to throw any other businesses under the bus. I don't want to ruin anybody else's livelihood by me bringing this amendment to light. So I will speak in general terms. But as I do, I want you to think if you may know of any similar businesses. Perhaps you have even benefited from the services they provide without even realizing that they were also in violation of this ordinance until now. When the code states that only 2 clients can be on a home-based property at any one time, I think of the home where my daughter goes for piano. While they only work with 2 students at any one given time, she may have 3 or 4 other clients sitting in her waiting area because they're siblings of the other children who just finished their lessons, or they're the next clients that are coming. So while she's only working with 2 clients at a time, she may have 5 or 6 clients sitting on her residence at any one given time. Is she in violation? If someone has a home-based photography studio and I bring my family of 13 there to have family portraits made, we will arrive in 7 different vehicles. Is that photography studio on their home now in violation of an ordinance also? If a person has a home-based accounting, finance, insurance, or travel agency, do they ever have more than 2 customers there at a time? There are 2 other individuals that I know of personally that also teach swimming from their home in a group setting. Once again, I don't want to throw them under the bus either, so I will not name any business names. But I am sure there are many other businesses out there that could be examples as well. I know the county, as well as I, see this as a Pandora's box that we're opening and what the possibilities could be. While it is important to protect the character of our neighborhoods and the integrity of the county, this can also be a means of financial freedom for others. Out of this amendment, there may be a mom who has been struggling as her husband has been on unemployment now for over a year. News of this amendment may get the wheels spinning in her head as to how she could convert her basement into an art studio or host art classes, provided that she has the proper acreage and maintains that residential character feel to her setting, thus providing for her family and helping them be less dependent on government assistance. The homeschool industry has experienced enormous popularity and growth over the last 10 years, and with the state that both public and private schools are in, parents seem to be hungry for academic opportunities. To limit someone to tutoring only 2 children at a time may limit opportunities for all. As a 14-year public high school teacher in Henry County, I see a need for home-based tutoring in a group setting where costs can be held reasonable for parents. I am all for ingenuity that might be fostered from this amendment. With the stipulations on acreage and maintaining the appearance of a home and not a business, we can provide for both the protection of our community and the freedom of the entrepreneurial spirit. I know Henry County is an advocate for small business, and this is your chance to show it.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I know there were some things that came out.
Excuse me, that was a good speech, and we have a little bit of, I want to make some clarification, because I had asked you just to add to what the staff had said, because we were going to have time for those speaking in favor of, and you could have at that time added some of that. But you might not have understood what I said to you. So, and the time allotment, what we have to do, we have to be fair to everybody that's going to speak or speaking in for and speak opposition of. That's the only reason I went ahead and let you speak, but we had to put a time on it. And so my question is this their time allotment since she didn't know, or we're going to allow another 10 minutes for speaking in favor of? Do I need to give those speaking in opposition of that much more time?
I think we need to keep it consistent, but I think looking at the room, I would assume everyone here is in favor of the request. So, I mean, you could still afford the public the opportunity, because we still do need to ask for opposition. So if the board sees fit to add additional time, then whatever time you add for those speaking in favor, we would do the same for those speaking in opposition.
Okay. Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
I know there were several questions that had come up in the work session that I was going to try to address as well.
We'll let the board members ask the questions, and then when they do, you can answer them at that time. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. All right. I appreciate that. Okay.
You've got this business here. What's the other business that's located further down there on the property?
Okay, so on our property, we have, this is actually just like a workshop. It's not a business. It's just, you know, my husband, boys have their toys, and that's his little toy shop. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how better to explain that. But the access to our property, like I said, this shows our area off of Stokes Drive here, where, Madam Chair, when you said you came and you saw it, the front of our property, you know, and that's the view that I gave you guys from there. Back here, this is
the smaller area.
Okay.
Yeah. You're going to have to zoom in, I guess, and get this. Zoom out just a little bit.
Okay, I can just move it over because you don't really see the other side. Okay, this street right here is Wilkerson Road, and this part is Clayton County, and this is a gravel driveway where access is given to the pool. So parents come in off of this gravel driveway, and it circles around and then opens up to this large parking lot area there, and that's how we're able to accommodate the parking so as to not be an eyesore to the community.
I would just answer his question about the other business, and there was no other business, so we're going to see if anybody else has anything else. So if you can just try to keep it to answering the questions, that would really help us. Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
Whose gravel drive?
Would you like to ask the
Whose gravel drive is that?
We own, when we purchased the property, it was 19 acres in Clayton County and 2 acres altogether in Henry County, or 19 acres in Henry County, 2 acres in Clayton County. We do. The other
So you
house,
own that drive?
yes, the other houses were there long before we were. There's 3 other houses that were grandfathered easements off of that drive long before, shortly after I was born.
Ms. Hill, will you give us some kind of indication where your property line along that driveway?
Okay, the driveway, from the way that I understand it, the driveway itself is technically our property line, but like I said, they were grandfathered easements off of it, so really we all share that gravel driveway, the 2 other houses that are along this road,
But you have a deed to it?
and us, yes.
And who is the property that's, I'm sorry, it's like a parking lot, you said? Whose property is that?
Yes,
Your property?
that's also part of the land in Clayton County.
That you own that land?
Yes, I'm working, there's another piece of property right here, it's 42 acres altogether that's owned by Clayton County Parks and Recreation, and I've been in the works with them for the last couple of months to try to purchase and acquire that land, so that way aside from some other things that we want to do with that property in Clayton County, it would give me a different entranceway, because right now this is my only entranceway off of a road, and so that would give me more road frontage that I could cut a separate driveway to the property.
Do any of the board members have any other questions for the applicant?
You indicate that you operate 2.5 months out of the year.
Yes, we basically run from Memorial Day until Labor Day, because it is an outdoor pool, so it is a very seasonal business. That's why my picture of the pool that I gave you is not very pretty right now, because it's covered and has leaves on it.
I was like,
I know.
anyone else have any questions for the applicant? Okay, you may be seated. At this time, we're going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in favor of the case, and if there's anybody here that wants to speak in favor. And I just want to remind you, that's total 10 minutes, and I will do the gavel, and we do have an officer there that would just be glad to escort you to your seat if you go over your time. And I'm not going to be the one that argues that. We won't start the time yet. And so speak to us about how we should change the ULDC code from what exists today for this text amendment. That's what we need to hear from you.
Name and address.
And your name and address, please, everybody that comes up here to speak.
Okay, my name is Brian St. Jakes. I'm at 33 Jetico Station Drive, Stockbridge. I'm a resident of Henry County, and as a citizen of Henry County, I believe that, first of all, I want to make clear that I'm in support of Ms. Hill's text amendment, not the amendment and the numbers that were given by the staff member. So I'm in support of Ms. Hill's text amendment changes. As a citizen of Henry County, I believe the citizens of Henry County who are willing and able to provide services without violating any health or safety requirements and without unreasonably disrupting or adversely affecting their surrounding areas should certainly be allowed to do so. I think the fact that this particular property is 19 acres allows that to be done. And I think, in fact, that this should be encouraged, as small businesses like the swim center have nothing but a positive effect on the county by providing services and, of course, creating jobs, and specifically this particular business, the safety training that goes on for the children of this county.
Thank you.
Hi, Mary Detweiler, 10898 Morning Dove Drive, Hampton, Georgia. I have 4 points to bring up. Number one is the economy that Ms. Hill's business brings into Henry County. As she stated earlier, this is a business that gets people from other counties spending money in Henry County, and that's what's important right now in a state that is bleeding dry financially. Second off is that right now also what she said is there's no public pool available, whereas in the surrounding counties they have those public amenities. Also, there is no pool available through private donation for public use. So Ms. Hill is allowing students, parents, friends, and family to come and take classes and learn pool safety, which is very important. My third is This doesn't affect the county during the winter months, like Ms. Hill also brought up. This is only during the summer months, 2.5 months. So even though it's just 2.5 months, her business is having a wider effect throughout the months where she does teach in various locations. Having it in Henry County, again, brings more money into your own county, but it also helps keep the costs down for parents that are hit hard by this economy. This is a time where we want to make sure that children are learning the proper safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Felisa Robinalt. I live at 331 Traymore Pass in Stockbridge, Georgia. I'm a relatively new member to Henry County. I've been here a year. I'm a former deputy coroner for Natchitoches Parish, Louisiana, as well as I have a distinguished career in fire and EMS. I do realize that this is a financial gain for the County of Henry County, but I would like us to not lose sight of the fact that Ms. Hill teaches many children as well as adults and trains persons to do so as well for the safety of the children and adults and swimming participants in Henry County. Let's not lose sight of the fact that a 2-year-old child can drown in 2 inches of water, or a baby, up to 2. So this is a very important issue. I've seen the statistics. I've been in an autopsy lab where we autopsied these statistics, and I know how important this is and how quickly a day of fishing with your grandfather, or a day at the lake for fun, or a day at the pool can turn from a happy day into a very sad, tragic situation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
I just wanted to speak in favor of Jennifer.
Can
also.
I get you to?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
It's
My
okay.
name is Stacy Jakes, and I live at 95 Emerald Drive, McDonough.
Thank you.
And my little boy Joseph and my little girl Emma, they are 5 and 10 months, and this is him. And Joseph has been taking lessons from Jennifer since he was 2. And Emma has been taking since she was 4 months in the water babies class, and they would pass her back and forth, under the water and teach her to hold her breath. And I just feel like you just can't start too early. We know people that have lost children to drowning accidents, and I just don't think that you can even look at that as a statistic that it's a child. And I have no idea, to be honest with you, where else we would even be able to go for lessons if Jennifer wasn't allowed to teach at her home anymore. There's no way we could afford a private lesson. And so if we could not go to the group lessons at Jennifer's home location, I don't even know where else we would turn inside the county, anywhere close by within reason for lessons at all. So we just really want to urge you to support her text amendment. I just think that there are so few people that could possibly obtain to with 15 or more acres that I just can't imagine that would negatively affect anyone by changing her amendment. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Holly King. I live at 95 Oakleaf Drive in Stockbridge. I'm going to take a little different approach because I truly believe that by amending this, it gives the opportunity for other homeowners to have businesses and to fulfill their dreams and also bring the economies into Henry County. When you drive from Covington and Rockdale and Gwinnett for a business, whether it is a swim business, whether it is a photography business, whether it is a golf driving range that you're going to build in your backyard because you have 20 acres and have the opportunity to do this, you are actually bringing money into this county. They have to stop and get gas. Think about it. If you wanted a golf driving range, you and your friends go out and you eat lunch. You have spent a few dollars in the restaurants. When you come for swim lessons, you are going to stop off at Target or Tanger or all the different businesses that Henry County offers that you can't get in Rockdale or Newton or even Gwinnett County. So we are bringing businesses in here, whether it's a swim business, whether it is a dance business, whether it's a photography studio. I actually drive to Baldwin County to Red Feather Farm twice a year to have my girls' pictures made. There is my photographer is Miss Ona. She has over 10 acres there. She built a photography studio on the back acreage of her home property. Just like Jennifer, it has a separate drive coming in so it does not bother her neighbors. She hosts many events during the year at Halloween, Easter, and Christmas, where she has multitudes of people coming onto her property and getting their photos taken at a relatively great price, and it's bringing an economy to Baldwin County. I shop while I'm there. I eat while I'm there. I'm spending the day there. So that is why this amendment is so important to the county aspect of it and to the economy of Henry County. Thank you.
Thank you. You have 3 more minutes, looks like. Okay. Please state your name and address.
Silko Spades, 440 Branch Forest Way, Stockbridge. My son is Boy Scout, and he's driving for the Eagles, and he needs to have swimming lessons to achieve even Eagles. Otherwise, he won't ever have to go back to Boy Scouts, actually. And Ms. Hill and her crew have been helping tremendously so far to take the fear away from his swimming. Also, as an immigrant going for becoming a U.S. citizen, I believe Ms. Hill, for me, is an inspiration that she's living the American dream to be or to have opportunity for prosperity and to be successful. And she has achieved that with through hard work and lots of dedication. And she's always been very stern about her, what is it called? Her rules. And you're not allowed to run. I've never seen anything weird going on, and there has never been an accident. I'm very impressed, and I'm very, very blessed to have her in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. You have 1 minute and 48 seconds, sir.
I've never been accused of being slow, so my name is Charles Thornton. This is my son, Trey Thornton. We are...
Good evening, Trey.
Yes. And we live at 125 Crown Glen Way in Stockbridge. We moved here from Florida, where there is pools aplenty, ocean aplenty. Quite frankly, if there is not a pool up in North Henry County by Mrs. Hill, there is no place for us, for my children, to learn how to swim safely, first and foremost. Second and most, it's been alluded to. This is, as we know, this is a very difficult time economically speaking. Not only does Mrs. Hill's pool provide an environment for safe learning and swim environment and bring my revenue into the community, it also allows my wife and myself to go and venture and learn about other businesses in this area. And I can say that firsthand because as somebody who's coming from the state of Florida, I don't know this area. So I get to meet the other parents, the other small businesses. And on a personal note, she is also an exemplary example of small businesses because not only did she help foster and organize this, as you can see by her organizational skills, she's very adept at organizing, but also she sets a good example for my son. I teach my son to be his own man, to learn and to start his own business. Mrs. Hill fostered that growth and that energy by allowing my son and the other children to open up and sell their cookies. He had a lemonade stand that he ended up having to write a report for. You cannot teach this kind of stuff in school. This is real world, real life. You only lose by eliminating Mrs. Hill from our community. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's probably going to do it for the time.
Yep, 2 seconds.
Okay, 2 seconds. Thank you so much. Okay, so at this time I have to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in opposition.
Tell them one at a time.
One at a time. Don't rush to the podium. Someone who's not had swimming lessons given by Miss Hill.
We can fill their 10 minutes.
There you go. Can't let you do it, though. Okay, I would like Ms. Hill to please come back up to the podium. Does the board have any further questions for the applicant? Okay.
Can I just make a statement? I mean, just very, very, very brief. Just like the lady before that said that, she didn't know she needed to be C3 or C1 or C2, I honestly don't know if I need a text amendment. I don't know what I need. I just know that I went to planning and zoning, and they kind of steered me to say, this is the route we need to go to begin with. So kind of like the last lady said, whatever will make it work is what I want and what I know all of them want. But in this process, it has made me think outside the box to go, are we shooting ourselves in the foot to keep other people from possibly thinking outside the box and coming up with something that they could do as a home-based business as well?
Well, in answering that and making a comment to that, we as a board, I want you to know that we've received all the emails and we've taken in great business. I mean, I commend you. You just have a great world of support, and that's to be commended. We have a great task before us because you're asking us to change the ULDC code text amendment, and that's a big burden for us to try to decide tonight to do, and we want to give that every much thought and consideration as your customers have given to you and here tonight, and we have had the time for you to speak and that sort of thing. And so we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing as a board, but we also, for the residents of Henry County, because this affects not just you and your business, this affects everyone. It affects my home, it affects the homes of the board members here and everyone that's in the audience. So it's a county-wide impact, and I know you realize that. So it's a task that we have to take on and consider. And with the heartfelt consideration, hope you know that we're all doing that, and appreciate everyone that's here tonight and the comments that were given. We certainly do. So, does any board members have anything else they want to add?
Yes, I have another question. Do you have a copy of your text amendment in this file?
The original?
The one that you're proposing?
I do.
Oh, you don't?
No, I do not in that file. And once again, I know I had emailed you all prior to this too, that when it comes down to the wording, like Mr. Nelson in the work session said, maybe if you have more than 5 acres, you can have 1 student per acre. However, the wording, I'm just not that well versed in how the wording needs to be, but I think, because I understand what you're saying, you want to protect your home and your neighborhood, and that's why I think by wording it at, if a home-based business has 15 acres or more, then, as Mr. Nelson had indicated, you could have 1 student per acre that you have. And that definitely, kind of changes the dynamics of who might be able to fit in this type of realm.
And we're just trying to figure out if there's another way that maybe we're trying to get you, we want you to continue to do what you're doing. And
that's a lot of the legalness of it that I don't understand, like the difference between this and a conditional use or other things.
We're trying to find a way for that to happen. So just know that going forward.
Right.
So whatever we try to decide up here. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments?
Well, just one comment, and I think I've stated to you, sir, we're not making any guarantees in terms of what will happen or what's going to happen.
I understand.
But we do see you as a viable business, and we want you to strive as a business, but we want to do what's right for Henry County.
Right.
Okay. We're ready. We need to call the case.
About to forget what we're doing.
No. Oh, you may be seated, Jennifer. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you stay up here.
Madam Chair, before I read the case, I do want to reiterate that you all certainly have the authority to table the request and allow staff some more time to see if there's anything else out there, any other options, because Mr. Nelson did certainly bring up some good points during the work session that we would certainly like to explore at the staff level. And like we expressed during the work session, we certainly understand that this is a unique case, and whatever decision we make, we want to make sure that we send a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners that we all feel comfortable with, and at the same time, a recommendation that will certainly support the continuation of this business. So I'm not sure what the applicant's thoughts are, but I still wanted to put that out there for you all, and we certainly can work internally to see what we can bring back to you all in March as an option.
Yes,
Madam Chairman, I would like to recommend, or make a motion, that we table it until our next meeting. And I'm taking a look here at what our meeting schedule is.
Well,
That would be,
Let's don't put a date on it, if you don't mind.
well, it'd be March.
But let's don't put a date on it, in case I don't get it to where it needs to be. I just would rather
Okay.
decide whenever they decide. So just make the motion.
I would like to table it until such a time as staff may be able to come up with a recommendation for us, and then advertise it and advise the applicant as to what our date is.
I'll second.
Okay.
We have a motion.
We have a motion and a second. That's okay. Is there any discussion from the board about the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by raising your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Motion carries. Okay. None opposed. Okay. All right, now, believe it or not, we get to allow for public comment. So for those who didn't get to speak and want to speak, you have 10 minutes and for public comment. So, and the floor is yours. You want to start the clock? Don't forget to add your name and address when you address the podium, please. And it's 10 minutes per person. It's 10 minutes total time.
My name is
Andre.
My name is Andre Wilkerson, and I'm in District 5. My address is 148 Crown Glen Way, Stockbridge, Georgia. And I'm kind of confused here. You know, a couple years back, Henry County was named one of the fastest growing counties in the nation. And it's alarming to me that we are haggling over such a small thing. I think it's a small thing. It seems like we should move on these outdated dates of ordinances and come up with new ideas and new inventors to where entrepreneurs and people that are thinking outside of the box can come to this county and grow and feel safe that if we start something according to ordinances, it won't be shut down. So I want to just stay to the point that I approve of what Mr. Hill is doing. Here's the situation. My kids are 10 now. At the time, my son Andre was 5. Jade at the time was 2. And they've been swimming, and now they're up to level 5 and level 6, and they're on top of the world in their community. Their grandparents are proud of them. And everywhere they go, they're asking how these kids technically can swim so great at such a young age. And when I say, of course, that's Ms. Hill and her staff. So I just want to stand up here and say that if you think about it, you know, how many people in your family can actually swim? I'm talking about the committee, the board. A lot of people in my class, my age, they can't swim. In my family, they cannot swim. So my wife and I, we decided that we're going to fix that trend and try to change that thing so these kids can swim. And not only they can swim, that they teach their children to swim. So this is a win-win situation here. Anything other than okay is not acceptable in my family.
Thank you.
I'm Donna Oliver, and I live at 6301 Browns Mill Road in Lithonia. That's DeKalb County. Until I was introduced to Jennifer Hill, I didn't know there was a Henry County. I shop here. I buy groceries when I come over to Jennifer's. Now that I know everything's here, I come even when it's not summertime and shop in Henry County. You've got lots to offer, but people need to know about it, and Jennifer's a great gateway to get into Henry County. My granddaughter has been swimming with Miss Jennifer since she was 4. And I have a friend with a pool, and we go over there every year, and her grandchildren have been taking lessons since they were 2 years old. And Katie, my granddaughter, can show them things they're afraid to try because Miss Jennifer has given her the confidence and taught her things that other swim teachers don't. We need Miss Jennifer's school. Thank you.
Hello and good evening. Good night.
Name?
My name is Angie Stelzer. I live at 160 Dennis Drive in Stockbridge. First, I want to thank the staff and the board members for staying so late tonight to listen to all of us praise Miss Jennifer in the Swim Center. I know it's late, but as you can see, Miss Jennifer is a very loved member of our community and of our county. I would just like to point out that the option increasing the number of students would be appreciated by parents who work full-time. My husband and I both work at Georgia Tech. I'm really sorry about that to all you UGA fans. We both work at Georgia Tech, and our oldest daughter, Bella, goes to school at Strong Rock Christian School in Locust Grove. So we're driving from Georgia Tech at exit 250 all the way down to Locust Grove, which is exit 212. And by the time we get home at night, it's after 6 o'clock. The only reason why Bella is able to take swim lessons is because there's space in Miss Jennifer's class. If we cut that class time, parents who have longer commutes or work odd hours may not be able to get their children into the swim lessons. So thank you very much for entertaining all of us and listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm going to be quick. My name is Mildred Ivory, 137 Parkside Drive. And what I want to say is a personal thing. I have been petrified about getting in the water until I met Jennifer. We were teaching together at Forest Park High School, and she told me, if you come to my group class, you will get rid of that fear. Well, it took a little bit because I was the last one in the pool in my group situation. But one thing I did love about her class was the group situation, because there was about 8 other ladies in the water with me that felt the same exact way. And we wind up motivating each other and kept each other going to the point that I actually came back to another class to help motivate some of the other students. So please, because I still have not conquered my fear about diving off that board yet, so please do not let her have her group classes, because I need that motivation from the other students, because I do want to learn how to jump off that board before I go on my cruise in April.
Hi, my name is Bethany Rose, 505 Hawkeye Court, McDonough, and I just want to speak from another personal experience. My daughter is one of the minorities that Ms. Hill was talking about. We adopted her from Guatemala, so she is Hispanic, and at 1 year old, we put her in swim lessons. At 2 years old, she fell into the pool. I turned my back for a second, and she was gone. Panic, tears right now thinking about it. But because of Ms. Hill and her capable staff, my daughter at 2 years old was able to swim up to the top of that surface and save herself. And I just can't imagine if we take that away from her and any other child that is in that situation. And I applaud her efforts, and please continue to let her work so my child, who is now 5, can continue to take swim lessons from her. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ida Weiner, and believe it or not, I'm coming from Clayton County. My address is 1944 Rosamond Court, and although I live in Clayton, at this age...
What city?
Jonesboro.
Jonesboro, Clayton County. Okay.
I'm 55 years old, not ashamed to say it, but let me just say that at this late in my childhood, I learned to swim, and the only reason for that is Jennifer was the big inspiration. And I continue to swim, and I swam 2,500 meters today. So, but the most important thing that I want to say is, having served our country as a veteran, as a soldier, I know what it is to be an example to our country and to serve. And I'm emotional because so many people that come back are unable to really acquire the things that we see as in the example of Jennifer. Jennifer is an exemplary, not only credit to herself, her family, her friends, her community, but she continues to help young people mature because she employs them. And I think that's a big factor that we need to consider, in that her business helps young people grow. And if that point wasn't made, I want to make it really loud and clear. A lot of us are helped because of people like Jennifer that are good counselors, that are good leaders, and she is certainly a top-notch leader, and I just want to share that with the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Dunn of McDonough, Georgia. I just want to take the time to share some personal experience. I took swim lessons with Jennifer when I was 9.
Can you give us your address? You said McDonough. Your address.
1611 Flowers Creek Drive, McDonough, Georgia, 30253. I am disabled. I have hearing aids, and with my hearing aids out, I don't hear anything, and I think that having water safety courses not only for people who have regular issues, but also disabilities is important in that water safety. And I was able to do that and be able to be in water safely. And I also want to urge all of you here in my 4th district as well, that the road ahead may be challenging, but that doesn't mean that it needs to be detrimental for other home businesses in this county, that we can continue to stand together and build a stronger economy in this county. And I appreciate your time, and thank you.
Thank you. We have 1 minute and 11 seconds to go. Does anyone else want to say anything? Here we go. Come on down. And state your name and address again, please.
Mary Detweiler, 10898 Morning Dove Drive. That was my sister, and what she didn't state is that Jennifer taught both me and her at a young age. Like the lady previously stated, she had a fear of water. I wouldn't even go in and get my face wet, but Jennifer allowed me to conquer that fear, and I've actually swam in international waters because of that. What my sister also failed to mention is that now my little nephew, 10 months, is taking a class with Jennifer in her Water Babies course. Without Jennifer in our community, I don't know if my sister would have ever been able to learn to safely swim. When I say that Jennifer has the patience and the heart to teach someone that is completely deaf without aids, it's amazing. And I hope that you seriously take into consideration her text amendment. And I appreciate you for being willing to table this, because this is a serious business. This is something that I understand you're worried about it affecting your homes, but this is something that affects your community, and community is the heart of Henry County, and that is where you're going to see the difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and ask for a motion to adjourn, if I can get that, and then I'll adjourn. Yes. Well, I think we're done, and we have to, we're done.
What?
Okay. We're done. Okay, we're going to dismiss.
We are.
We're adjourned.